Hello. It has come to my attention that we haven't made any videos for a long time. Everybody's getting left behind. We've done quite a bit of stuff. It's not on camera. We've done a lot of stuff that was on camera last summer, but between Aussie and the kids, they did all this video and interviews and all this footage at the track. I've never seen any of it, so it's hard for me to bring it to you when I don't even have it. But it's been like 9 months since the last video, and so we're now, 2025 kind of, well, I told you about the modified, and we did run that. We took it to flipping one more time. It was the last time we ran it. It still sucked, and so I decided to bring it in here, and we Frankensteined it into our own homemade car, kind of, somewhat, a little bit. It's still pretty much TRE, but it's got some updates by yours truly. Not much has really changed with the late model either, but so the last time we went to flipping, I still had the bus engine and the late model, and I'm like, man, I'm almost that fast with what I got. I'm like, if I put the crate in here, I think I can still win. I'm still capable of winning down there without a problem. So come home, and we did pull we missed that part. Okay, so the last time we ran it flipping with the bus engine and the late model, it started making some noise. I was concerned, but I went ahead and swapped the bell housing. With the reverse mount starter, you have an extra idler gear in the bell housing to turn your little flywheel on that setup, the reverse mount setup. So the idler gear disappeared out of our bell housing, so I couldn't even start it to try to diagnose what was wrong with it. Well, come home, I got the idea in my head that, hey, if I had the crate in here, I think I could still win. So just went after it one day, and next thing you know, they're swapped. So now the crate engine is in the late model, the bus engine is in the modified. And then it just kind of got ignored. Once it got transferred to the modified, I'm like, well, I have to put it in there now almost to be able to start it and try to figure out what's going on with this thing. And it sat there, in my mind, that motor's cooked. I mean, no sense in messing with it. So I really just blew it off. And I knew I wanted to do some pretty extensive work before I ever tried to take it anywhere and run it again. So flipping never raced again after the night I did that last video, the next day we went to flipping and raced, came home, swapped motors, track shut down. Don't know if it will ever open again. I heard, through the grapevine kind of deal that it'll only ever open again if somebody else buys it. So that's not good news. I mean, that's sad. You see tracks closing down all over the country. It ain't a good thing. And it's just, I know it's hard to run them, cost money. They never really did have a good car count ever that I remember in my life. Maybe like in the early 2000s, there might have still been good car counts, but unless they had a special or something, I mean, they probably didn't have, there were some classes had 4 or 5 cars every week. Some classes might have 10 or 12. I'd say their biggest class probably had 10 or 12. And so, not cool. We really like that place, so hopefully somebody will go, hey, if you got deep pockets and you want to own a racetrack, there's one for sale just on the other side of Mountain Home, Arkansas. So do us all a favor and go buy that dude and fix her up. But anyways, back to this stuff. So one day I got to messing around. I kind of finished the chassis work that I wanted to do on the mod, and I just want to see if it'd start and figure out what was going on. Well, I could hear, I'm like, what? I don't know, So I pulled the valve covers off of it. Well, this thing, mind you, this bus had like 96,000 miles on it, so this motor should be untouched. I assume nobody ever pulled the valve cover off of it until I did, and just put our aluminum ones on there to look good. Well, I never paid no attention before, and I never adjusted the valves before. Well, it's got like the factory lock nuts on the studs for the rocket arm. And they had it double nutted with just a regular 3/8 coarse thread nut on it. One of the nuts had come off and was laying in the top of the head, so I'm sure it was getting in a valve spring and all over the place in there. In my head, that's what I'm thinking. So I get rid of all these lock nuts, or double nut, jam nut, whatever you want to call it. And I did run the valves, and everything seemed fine. All the nuts were still tight. Like some of them were, I was afraid I was going to break something, trying to back them off. So I wasn't really concerned after that. And then started back up. I think purrs like a kitten, so I think it's okay. Gosh, I don't know. I guess the late model we did run a few more times. I swapped that motor in it. We sat around here for, seemed like 3, 4, 5 weeks, something like that. I just wanted to go run it. I was like, man, I don't really care. We'll pop a bluff. They had, they run like an all late model deal, but last year the way they did, they 602, 604, open late model, where it was pretty much run what you run type deal. And so we went over to that. It was going to pay $100 just to show up. So I was like, well, I got the itch. Let's just go do it. So we show up there, 602 crate. We're on our hard MD56 Cashmoney tires, 4-state tires. And we're on 4-state shock and spring rule package So non-adjustable shocks were mandated on what spring we can run on what corner. And went down there, just kind of lollygagging in the heat. And I think we ended up 6 out of 10 in the heat. And then that put us starting 6 in the feature. So I have in my mind like, you know, super late models, I probably shouldn't try super hard. And I got thinking like, man, there's some goobers behind me, so I better not dig around too much, you know. And the guys that were in front of me, I've raced with some of them quite a bit, and just thought, well, you know, they're good enough that we're not going to go down there and wad them up. Yeah, that's what I thought. So we get down there, and it's a pretty bottom dominant track, but I just rolled around kind of through the middle. It was a wide open hole. I'm like, oh boy, I'm going for it. I'm going to be about second or third coming out of this corner. Well, they started wrecking. One of them drove up into me, hit me in the left rear, put a hole in the tire. I kept it out of the wall, but I had to pull in and get my flat changed. And, you know, so I got Austin and Crimson and Cameron. So my wife, my 9-year-old, and my 10-year-old are there to change my flat. And I've been known to be hot-headed in some situations like that a little bit, but I just pulled off. I'm like, ain't no big deal. They'll get it. So I pull down there. I'm like, okay, just don't get mad. It's like, not a big deal. They can get it, you know. I probably could have got out and done it as fast, but, and Aussie's dad was there too. Well, he's trying to shove the jack under my door. I'm like, hey, you got to put it in the back. You got to get them on the ground. You got to put it back there. And he gets it back there, and they're trying to get the wheel off, and Cameron, he's just like, you know, he didn't know what the hell was going on. I'm trying to tell his mom what to do, but he was lost too. And they're like, what tire you want? I was like, pick one that's got air in it. It'll be all right. Just put one on there. So they get that, drop me off the jack. And I pull back up to their entrance. Well, they're already racing. I'm like a couple laps down. Well, the leader, he's coming out of turn 4 down the front straightaway, and I pull onto the back straightaway. I just start ripping this thing, giving it hell. And I'm thinking, you know, this went on for probably 17, 18 laps that we ran. And I'm like, I'm going to get past any minute. Why aren't they showing me the lap flag? Never seen it. I passed one guy twice, like lapped him twice. Passed him once and lapped him again. And he was still scored ahead of me on my race pass. So I was at least 2 laps down. Nonetheless, so I get back in the pit after the race. I'm like, you know, were they pretty close to lap me? And they're like, oh, you're pulling away from those guys. You were as fast as those guys. I'm like, dang, you know, I wish we could have got a good start. That could have been maybe a top 3, perhaps, or something, you know. But then we went to one full 4-set race. We tried to go one night, and it rained out at Springfield, and then we went back for the makeup race and missed the show by 1 spot. But like something like that, I think the non-qualifier paid $200, and just to make the show paid $325. So I can justify making a trip like that if I think I'm gonna get $325 to start. I'll take you for a little walk around. We'll take a little peek at some of the customizing we've done on the old modified. Better grab a little flashlight over here because the lighting in this old building is just one step better than no lighting. Let's see, where you want to start at? We still got a little shock rub right there. I think I took care of it today, so that'll be fine. Did a little different spacing up here, different fan, there's radiator over. This thing runs cool now. No ticking from the motor. That's a good deal. Oh, this thing had a, let me grab one of these guys. When we took it to Springfield, I'll show you that. It had like all front brake. And when we just threw this together real quick, so I didn't have time to go through a lot of stuff. And so the balance bar in the brake assembly here, if you don't know, you crank this from a handle in the cockpit, and it moves this bar from side to side. And there's, you know, like for visual reference, there's like a ball in here per se. And what you do when you crank that is you're moving that ball from side to side, and that adjusts front brake to rear brake. Well, when we got this thing, let's see if you can see here. So, you know, this is the front and this is the rear brake. Well, this thing was like adjusted way out where it was putting mostly pressure to the front brake and hardly any to the rear brake. And it still acts a little goofy. It's got like, I don't know, it's got play in the rear master cylinder, and I think that's why it still, after we ran it at practice the other day, you can't touch the brake at all in this thing. You're going into a big push. But anyways, since I went back through all this, it you know, basically every nut, you know, this stuff was loose, this stuff was loose, this stuff was loose. All this stuff in here was all loose. All factory steering the junk. I can't stand it. I wish everything we had was like this, so much simpler. But anyways, all that stuff was loose, got it all fixed up. The brake lines are ran so silly on this thing, and I'd really like to, if we were gonna keep this and keep running it like for the kids, I'd like to strip it completely and start over, would be more ideal. But at Springfield, we knew our clutches weren't working right, or thought it could be a master cylinder problem or whatever. Well, I ended up pulling the transmission. I had a spare out of my late model and put it in there, which still didn't fix the problem. And then we put a master cylinder on it. That didn't fix the problem either. We did find finally a cracked fitting on one of the 4 hoses they use for a clutch line. Kind of silly. So in the back here, get a flashlight on over here. Somewhere. Yeah, like that. Okay. So this thing had like, the wheelbase was about 112 inches. And it's 108 is the minimum, so it wasn't illegal, but I'm trying to eliminate problems. This thing had bolt-in brackets. It had 2 big bolts here that held this part of the bracket and then a clamp on top. Well, the problem is on the left side, you know, the top hole was about right here, probably right in here, which is fine for this side, but not that side. But it was way back here because these were designed to have a short bottom bar. We can run a minimum of 15, which is why, so, you know, if the holes were here with this same 15-inch bar, well, do the math, that's like 2 inches. So we cut all that out, had it on jack stands, you know, set the rake the same, had string lines all over the place. Squared it off the mid plate. 72 inches is the rule from the mid plate, which is between the motor and the bell housing, to the center of the rear end tube. It is that now. So got it on jack stands, unbolted all this stuff, cut it off, put all these plates, kind of mocked it up, lined it up, picked some spots where I was like, okay, that needs to be a pretty stationary fixed point. We'll go off of that. And the nice thing about these, which we don't run an upper, so none of this stuff really matters to us, but they do give you the option. They're like half holes, if you can see the way they're drilled out. And they have an option for a 13, 14, 15, or 16-inch bar. And yeah, those are some old seatbelt brackets in there for spacers because this is wider than it used to be, so the normal spacers weren't enough. But anyways, so that's all set up now. We did run into some clearance issues on the J-bar over there. I wanted to go to a center, oh, you can't see that, but I wanted to go to a center mount on that square, but the slider gets into it. And we're now rigged up. We can run a spring on top now. I meant to try that at practice and just didn't get time. What else did we find? Oh, okay. So the clutch deal, when I went to swap the transmission, now remind you, all the bolts in the front end were like barely holding this thing together. So I go to swap the transmission. I pull the drive shaft out. First of all, the U-bolts that hold the U-joint in the rear end, right there. Son of a gun. What a pain in the butt. Hang on a second. I'm getting her. I'm gonna get her, hold that light right there on my knee. Yeah, those U-bolts right there were wrong, so they were kind of crazy to get out. And then, let's see, the shift linkages, they're supposed to have 2 3/8 bolts holding them into the transmission. It had one, and it was finger tight, and the other one was a 1/4-inch bolt that was finger tight. And then, see these bolts? Those 2 1/2-inch bolts, there's one there and one down there. Those were the only 2 bolts holding the transmission to the bell housing. There's 2 more on the other side. They just didn't feel like putting them in there, I guess, or something. And then, you know, the battery, that's a pretty good chunk of weight. It was back here next to the fuel cell, and I moved it up there just because that's not easy to move at the track. If I want more weight back there, it's real easy to unbolt some lead. I got some there and there and there. It's easy to move that back there if I want to. I don't see any purpose for that, though. Oh, look how long this pull bar is. I think those things are supposed to be like a minimum of 21 inches. And that thing's like 42 inches. I could cut that thing in half and give somebody a pull bar or have a spare. But we ain't got no mount, and I'm probably not going to mess with it. So it's just going to have to be good enough. And the old car did handle pretty good. We went to practice, not this past weekend, the weekend before it, legit. And it was a little chunky, spotty at first. Once the track smoothed out, I was like, okay, I'm ready to go make some laps now. And it was black, smooth, slick from what I've heard from other people. I couldn't tell. And I don't know if it's because this motor is so under horsepower. It probably couldn't do a burnout if you tried. But this thing was stuck like glue. It was a little tight. You had to drive it in on the gas. You couldn't, how do I say that without being something naughty? Okay. Well, you couldn't drive it in there like a sissy. You had to be on the gas. But Aussie got in it and ran it. And I just basically told her, like, if you have to roll out a little early, that's fine. But you can't get to the corner and dump the throttle. It will not turn. So whatever you got to do, and then don't touch the brakes. Well, she went out there and, I mean, she did pass one car. I don't know who it was. But she's drove hobby cars. She's drove super stocks. She won a race in that late model, and she should have won more. If she hadn't got wrecked a couple times, she'd have a couple wins by now in a powder puff. But sometimes that ain't the way it goes. But yeah, so we could run that Friday night, but being a one-man show, it's really hard to, like, we took both of these to practice, brought them home, and then first thing we did was start unloading and strip the body off of this because it had a power steering leak that Well, and I probably overfilled the they say those transmissions supposed to have 14 ounces. I fill them until they come out of the plug in the side, like right there. And every time I do, it blows it out of the vent right there and makes a mess. And then, I don't know, that cap for some reason leaks a little bit. So I had to get this thing washed up. And then this thing wasn't really dirty. It was dusty. It's not really dirty, so I skipped the power washing on it. But long story short, what I'm getting at is taking 2 cars and only having a 1-man power washing crew the next day. Kind of sucks. So we could run this Friday night. And now that I fixed the shock problem that we were having, we might take it. I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. I know Corey's going to come run the running mods Friday night. And then I think my cousin Cody is going to try to get his car ready. So maybe I'll just go and give an extra hand. I don't know. We'll see. We are planning on running the late model. On Saturday, they're having sports. It's a 2-day super late model race and 2 nights of super stocks. Saturday, they're going to run those on Friday, run the late model, sportsman late models on Saturday. But we tested this thing, and we were, I guess, maybe a little soft on the right front because I was hitting the frame on the track. Pulled in, I was like, okay, I'm going to put a couple rounds in the right front and probably go back out because it wasn't terrible. But come over here, and I looked, and it was dripping a little bit of oil out of the corner of the oil pan. And we tried to, well, first of all, what I did, took the headers off, and I lifted the motor up and drilled new holes in these tabs as high as I could get them. I got it up about 1/2 inch because I don't want to order an adjustable mid-plate. I probably should, but so we raised that up, raised the front mount up, and then I had to raise the radiator up. That's why all this junk is off. What happened to the TV? Poor connection. Oh, video paused. Hold on. Okay, I gotta have my classic rock playing. YouTube in the shop. Or Dirt Vision, Flow, whatever you want to watch, it's in here. Just need a couch and a bed, shower, AC. I'd move in. But anyways, so my buddy Pyle come over and we tried to weld the oil pan up, but even with our little 110 snap-on welder, over there, turned all the way down, it still was, he had just about done. I mean, you couldn't even see a hole in it. It was just dripping. It sat here all week and dripped about 3 quarts. Yeah, about 3 quarts in a pan in a whole week. So it wasn't a bad drip. You couldn't see a hole, but we drained the oil, got it all cleaned up. He welded around on there a little bit. Well, I put a couple quarts in it to see if it would leak or not. And it was still a little bit wet, I guess. And he tried to zip a little bit more on there. He was like, and he said, oh shit. And he got out of the way and it was just pouring oil out of it. So that was about 4 o'clock in the morning, of course, because that's my normal working hours. He went home. I come back in the next day and I tried to patch up just a little bit. I ground it all back down. Just a little, I mean, you could barely pull the trigger, just a little, and the next thing you know, you got another hole in it. So I finally got it good enough, ground it down, quit messing around. And I got some epoxy and coated. I don't know if we can see it. Let's see if you can see it. Is that epoxy on there? It's mostly on that front corner there. I can't see what you're looking at because I ain't laying down. Could have bought a new oil pan, I guess, but these engines are sealed. Don't know if you can see that blue seal right there. And then they've got bolts like that you have to screw with all that and then take it somewhere to get it resealed. And that's more than I want to do. Then you got to pull it out. And that's a mess. So we're just going to patch that oil pan for now. And it's had 2.5 quarts, whatever I had left in a jug all day, and it ain't dripped a drop yet. So hopefully we're going to be all right. I just got to go buy some more oil and throw the nose back on here. This thing will be good. Put a couple rounds in the right front. Actually, one other guy, this is an old car. I mean, it's a 2013 Blue Gray Rocket. They're starting to, not very many people have these left that I know. And so our smash numbers might not be quite right for this particular chassis. It doesn't have all the raised right front parts like a newer one would. And I asked them like what kind of numbers they were running on theirs, and it's pretty much the same thing that I'm already doing. But I don't want to mess with that no more. So I just put a couple rounds in that to be safe. That's a 350 and that's a 500. So, let's see, 3 rounds in that would be the same as basically almost 5. You do the math, 350 and 500. So 1 round in that and 1 round in that is not going to keep the same load between the two. So I had to do the math. It was like one, I don't know. I ain't even going to tell you. Mind your business. I'm doing my thing. You do your thing. But I do get a lot of help. Luckily, we have several friends that run these at a higher level. And then, the information they gain and whatever they're willing to share trickles down a little bit. And some of it, I'm sure I'm not smart enough to do me any good. But we're going to try to keep it going. We got the 602 crate in this. The best engine in that. Already covered that. So I'm running out of excuses. If I can't pull off a win, which I was always better at flipping West Plains, I've struggled at the last few years since we've switched to a late model. We don't have the right gear for this car. I guess that's my last excuse I really have. Old tires. Everybody else is going to have better tires. I don't know. I had to rebuild that transmission too because it was toast. I should have rebuilt it I mean, not the whole transmission's toast, but everything to do with the clutch should have been replaced probably before I ever tried to run it last year. And I have to blame that. I'm going to pick on somebody here, or a handful of guys, a couple guys. You take it however you want. But when we're pacing on a caution, we have to keep the speed up, please. Because if I have that in high gear and it's about to die, I have to go to low. Well, then I'm using the clutch. I'm fairly certain that, or hot lapping around the go-kart track, one or the other. I've burnt clutches up last year, and that's not a cheap, easy fix. That's kind of a pain. I know that one's got fresh stuff in it, and then those other ones behind the chair, but I got another one I'm gonna have to rebuild. So I'll try to do a full rebuild video whenever I get ready to do that, because there's not really anything out there, and I don't know. So I just wanted to update you. Let's see. Yep, I'm out of stuff to talk about. So I just know I've had some complaints recently. Hey, how can you quit posting videos? You guys quit making videos, you know? Well, there was like I said, some extra footage that's unseen even by me. But I want to give everybody a little update. 9 months later, here we are. But I had several people like, hey, you know, we actually do watch, you know, a couple of the 20 people. There's like 20 people that watch this, and about 5 of them have spoke up and like, hey. So there's 2 nights of super late model racing, 2 nights of super stocks. I think Friday night is the legit mods, and factory stock, legit mod, factory stock. I think Saturday night is sportsman and maybe the other sport mod class. I kept that. I don't know why. But anyways, we could run this if we wanted to. I'm undecided. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Probably gonna run this one Saturday night, but we'll be there both nights regardless. Come see us at the track. All right. We're lucky to have our home track open. We ain't gotta drive 100 miles to go race somewhere for pennies on the dollar. That's gonna help a bunch, because if we weren't gonna be able to race here at home, we probably weren't gonna be racing this year. So thanks to Gary, all the Stoba family. I know they've put in a lot of work out there this year. The last 2 years, really. I'm expecting good things, but I want them to know I appreciate them, because if I'm making these videos, at some point, I'm probably gonna be bitching, because I'm a racer. Racers bitch. So thank you guys before I say anything negative from here on out. All right, I'm gonna be at the track 2 nights this week. You guys come see us, all 20 of you that watch these videos. Okay, see you guys.